Guys, Ragnar here. How's everything going out there in Ragnar land? We're here today with the band Split Persona out of Reno, Nevada. I got Xander, the lead singer, and Mike, the drummer. We're going to talk a little bit about their band today, so I'm kind of excited to get started with that. So I'm really just going to kick it off to you guys and have you introduce yourselves.
All right. Well, I'm Xander. I do the lead vocals and the guitar in the band.
I'm Mike. I play drums, slapskins.
Yeah.
All right, all right. Really, I'm interested in kind of you guys are young. I'm looking at you, and you probably, I don't know how. I'm not gonna ask you how old you are, but I'm definitely could be your father. Maybe no, not your grandfather. I'm not that. Um, but kind of when did you guys know that you wanted to get into the music industry and be a musician? And tell me how that's going.
So I knew around, I would say 2014, 2015, that I wanted to do music, and I was in sixth grade. So it was the end of
Wow.
sixth grade for me, and I was bouncing around schools a lot, and was living in Florida at the time before moving up here. And when I lived in Florida, my dad and I watched the movie Whiplash together, and it was that like jazz drumming movie, and such a good movie, you know. And they had this big like 13-minute drum solo at the end, and my dad, I was like, that was killer. And I had like an electronic drum set upstairs at the time, and I was like, I'm gonna learn some of that. And my dad was like, well, if you thought that was a cool drum solo, let me show you this other one. And he showed me Alex Van Halen playing drums at I think it was in New Haven, Live Without a Net. That was that DVD. And he was like, well, we listened to Van Halen like while I was growing up the whole time. So he was like, let me show you Eddie Van Halen playing guitar. His brother is just as good as guitar as his brother's good at drums. So he showed me Eddie shredding through Eruption, and it was like a 15, 30-minute guitar solo. And I was just in awe the entire time watching it. And I was just like, how is he doing that? I just kept asking myself, how is he making those sounds with a guitar? He's making it sound like a violin. He's making it sound like a drum set. He's making it sound like so many different things. So immediately after that, I call up my uncle who collects guitars. He's been playing guitars for years. And I hit him up and I was like, hey, I was wondering if you had any extra guitars lying around with a whammy bar. I want to start learning how to do dive bombs and play Eddie Van Halen riffs. And he came over, I think, 3 days later with a guitar and a practice amp. And he was like, all right, if this is what you want to do, let's make it happen. And immediately from there, I didn't really have much experience with string instruments. I was playing like piano for a couple years, and then I picked up drums and started to kind of learn drums by ear and play that. But when it was like guitar, I kind of just knew how to put my hands on the strings. So I started playing, and I started reading tabs and all that kind of stuff. And it was literally just all Van Halen riffs for like a year. It was like it was Unchained and Panama and all the different Van Halen songs. And that's when I realized, before that, when I started playing, I was like, I want to be the best lead guitar player in a band ever. I want to be the next Van Halen or the next Steve Vai. And the more I was playing, the more I got into songwriting and discovering bands like Foo Fighters. And Foo Fighters made the biggest impact in my life. I went through pretty much their entire discography for a year. I listened to just Foo Fighters on repeat for a year. And, I saw Foo Fighters, up to this day, 6 times, before Taylor had passed away. And I hope to see them again this year with whatever new drummer they end up picking to go on the road with them. But, when I listened to Foo Fighters, that's when, I started getting into songwriting and listening to Dave Grohl, just how he wrote so many different genres of music. Like, there'd be one song that was super punk rock and like he's screaming the whole time, and then it would go right into like that acoustic, like laid back stuff they did on In Your Honor. And I thought that was fascinating. So I started writing my own music, and it started out with like just a riff every now and then, and maybe a couple different things. And at this point, I'm in like 8th grade. Like you said at the beginning here, when I started writing music, I was in 8th grade, and I started with Split Persona wise. I don't write anything unless it's really for Split Persona, because this is my goal, for the rest of my life. So when I started writing music, it was like I think the first song I wrote was Melted Clocks, and when I wrote Melted Clocks, I was like, okay, this is a really cool like melody. This is a really cool song. And then I was like, I feel like writing some heavier stuff too. So, I got into writing Stay Away And then I wrote Keep It about the school that I was going to at the time. And at this point, when Keep It was written, I was in freshman year, and I was just pissed at everything, pissed at everything in school. I just wasn't, I was never, academic savvy, if you will. I was never a math person or really a science person. And I just ended up writing music all day about, stuff that I was going through in high school, and just eventually just kept writing music. And that was when I was living in Truckee, California for a couple years, and I was really struggling out there. And then around beginning of 2019, I moved up to Reno and started going to this school called Innovations High School. And they kind of specialize in a big picture learning environment. So it was like they'll give you your academic help, and they'll also give you time to pursue music or pursue whatever passion you wanted to do. So I was getting time, in between classes of writing music and being able to learn, the ropes of recording and, self-recording at home and all that kind of different stuff. And while I was at that school, I was actually introduced to this fool. And you want to pick it up from there on how we met?
Yeah, so kind of also within my origins, I started from guitar going to bass, which playing bass in a band, I played my first show and realized I love doing this. I love playing for people.
Yeah.
Going from there, I picked up drums as well. For a previous band, we couldn't find a drummer out here, so we all decided I should just learn and step on it. So throughout the years, I've been in different punk, reggae, ska punk bands, and then our previous band was a ska punk reggae band,
Yep.
in which, through connections and connections and connections, Xander was going to do photography for us.
Yep.
And in the green room of a venue out here, he just picked up a guitar, started shredding on it. We invited him to join the band, but he said no.
At the time, yeah.
At the time.
I mean, when I did photography for you guys, I was just excited to be part of live music, like a local band. Like when I moved up there, I didn't really know anybody, and I was put in touch with you and a couple members of that band at the time, and I just hit them up and I was like, "Do you guys need a photographer for tonight? Because I have a decent camera. I'll show up and get some good shots and edit them. I have pretty good Photoshop experience, so." I showed up to the show, and they were all super, super cool, and it was like my first ever green room experience. Like, I was never, ever backstage at a show before, but yeah, they were all kind of trading off this guitar, and they were all playing Metallica riffs. So I was like, I know some Metallica riffs. I played some in a cover band, so I picked up the guitar and started playing Battery and Disposable Heroes and all these
Four Horsemen.
Yeah, Four Horsemen and all these different riffs. And I remember Mike was like, dude, do you want to be our lead guitar player? And I was so set on starting Split Persona at the time. I was just really trying to find the musicians to start that project and, just get that off the ground. And I was so set at the time that I was like, I don't really want to play guitar in a reggae punk band or whatever. So I moved on and I stayed in touch with them. And I still, I shot a couple other of their shows, and actually we became friends. We started hanging out all the time and whatever. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I'd rather be in a band than no band. I'd rather be cutting my teeth playing in a band than sitting at home just writing music alone. I'd rather be being part of something. So I ended up joining Sell the Sun as their lead guitar player, and we started playing some shows. And I think we played for 3 months. We did at least 5 shows, at least. We did a couple house shows, we did a couple, bar shows, and it was fun. And then everybody just kind of fell out of love with that band. Everybody just, there was no energy in it anymore. After 3 months, everybody was kind of burnt out. And that was when I went right back into writing Split Persona music. With this band over, I was like, well, time to write more music for Split Persona. So, and Split Persona was a band name that I came up with I think I was 13 when I came up with Split Persona, and I thought it was the coolest band name that I could come up with. And there were a couple other ones too. If you dig deep, if any of our fans are watching this podcast, if you dig deep, you can find out that our original name was
Subliminal.
Yeah, dude. And Subliminal was taken by so many different people. There was a band on the East Coast that was called Subliminal. There was an artist in Hungary that was signed to Capitol Records that was called Subliminal. So I was like, we can't be Subliminal. We got to be something a little more original. And actually, before I even met any of these dudes, when I first moved up to Reno, I hit up some of my music friends from Truckee. I had a drummer friend and I had a bass player friend, and I was like, do you guys want to just do a show at a coffee shop? And they were like, sure, let's do it. So I sent them, demos of Split Persona music at the time, Stay Away, Melted Clocks, even All Us 3 at the time. It was an early demo of All Us 3, but it was a little different than the one we released, but it was pretty much the same. And we played a show at a coffee shop under the name Split Persona because I couldn't come up with any other band name, and I was like, well, there is this one. So I kept that poster, as like I keep every like show poster that we've done. Like in our studio nowadays, we have all these different show posters that we keep, just memorabilia while we go on our journey. And I had that poster up on my wall in our music room at the time, which was my old house. And I remember it was Brogan when we originally met and started Subliminal at the time and did Battle of the Bands, which I'll get into that a little bit later. We had to pick a new name, and he was like, "What about Split Persona?" Like he just looked at the poster behind my head, and I was like, "Yeah, we can use that if you think that's cool." And he was like, "Yeah, I think it's rad. Let's use it." So that's when we became Split Persona, and that was after Battle of the Bands, and I think that was after Whiskey a Go Go as well. Or no, it wasn't. It was before because we played Whiskey a Go Go as Split Persona. So it kind of it just kept developing. Like after Sell the Sun had ended, it was like I was trying to find other musicians to be part of it because I was just so set on starting it as a new project. And the more and more we went on, we had a drummer and a bass player at the time, and both of them ended up getting jobs that kind of kept them from being able to pursue the music part of this. Being able to record and being able to go out on the road and play shows. So we ended up we started with a different drummer, and we're actually featuring him on this new record that we're gonna record just to do a song with us, just for old time's sake. And that's when Mike joined, for a little bit. That was when the pandemic had started, and Mike and I kind of fell out for a little bit, and it's not that we weren't friends, it's just that we weren't hanging out as much because we were just both in different projects and doing different things. And then when that drummer had ended up leaving, his name was Connor. I just called Mike and I was like, "Hey man, I was wondering if you wanted to join Split Persona," and he was like, "I'm already ready." Like I've been playing the EP since you guys put it out. Like I'm already ready. So we started
So
jamming. Like
did you guys meet in the high school then? Is that where you
yeah,
first met, or was it just during? So you're both in the same school together?
Yeah, I think I was in my senior year. I'm jealous of the school he went to. He went to a pretty fancy
Okay,
musical school. I just went to normal public high school.
and it's funny
ah,
because mine
okay,
was a
all
public
right,
school too. Didn't have to like apply to get
nice,
in or anything. It was
Ragnar,
just a public school. And it was kind of hidden.
nice,
It's in mid downtown Reno. Nobody expected a school to just
right.
be kind of snuggled in between a couple casinos. So I mean, it was
Now,
kind of a
now
hidden opportunity.
let me
But
back
yeah,
up
and
for a second. Yeah, let me back up for a second because you mentioned you just picked up and started playing. I just curious, like, did either of you have any like formal musical training, or was it all kind of self-taught? Or
the most musical training I ever had was piano when I was in third grade, and that was for probably a year. I was doing a couple recitals, and then after that, I never took another music lesson.
For me, I think it was orchestra through high school. That was about it. I played violin, I played upright bass, but that's
Yeah,
about the most. Everything else is self-taught.
so
and
it's all
I
basic,
had
but natural
I had a
natural talent
couple.
then, basically. Okay.
Pretty much. I mean, nowadays we're kind of all realizing like we can't just be self-taught. There's some things that we have to learn and continue to learn while we're becoming musicians. Like for example, our guitar player Brogan just started taking music theory courses, so he's starting to learn how to he's learning how to actually like tell what's on a guitar, like the notes and all the different chords, because we kind of don't know that kind of stuff. We just kind of go, yeah, the one that sounds like this, or this shape. It's just kind of just learning by ear. And for me, as a lead vocalist, I realized recently I really need to take care of my voice, especially with doing some pretty harsh vocals in some of our songs. So I've started, doing some vocal courses on learning how to like scream properly so I'm not hurting my voice, or, hit better notes and have better warm ups, all that kind of stuff. And, with that, I also go to Full Sail University right now for audio production. So in the next year, I could be, working closely with the boys on, mixing and mastering our music. And yeah, just learning how to actually do this stuff right. And I think the other day I sent Mike some, drum courses online that he could start taking too. So we could just, it's really just so we could be better,
Yeah,
and just be more proficient as musicians so we can continue and not really have any,
yeah. But
formal.
yeah, I heard you do. Yeah, I listened to all your stuff obviously as I was preparing for it, and I dig it, man. I really
Thanks, man.
enjoyed it. And I know you said, you don't, kind of put yourself in a box as far as a style and kind of a raw type rock style, and it really was. I mean, I think he described it pretty well. Um, and so I guess part of that, what I took away was that you feel like rock music needs to be a little bit less digitized and a little bit more raw and live,
Agreed.
which is awesome. And then, but you also mentioned that you didn't, put yourself in any kind of style. But I'm gonna put you on the spot here and say, and pinpoint it for me. Tell me where I should put you if we're putting you in. If I had to, if I made you do it, where would you put yourself?
I might give this to you because I mean you were listening to the music a lot before for a good couple months before
I'd
you
ha-
were in the band.
I'd probably just have to pinpoint it at maybe hard rock.
Yeah,
That's the
it's
best I could think because like though we have our softer songs, every hard rock has our
softer
hard rock
song.
band has their soft song.
Yeah, I would say we kind of fit in with like
Right,
Foo
right.
Fighters or Shine Down or like even Desert
Mm-hmm.
Rocky sometimes like Queens of the Stone Age-ish. So I mean, I don't know. I honestly
Okay.
it's really depending on what record that we've put out, what EP, what single. It's all different, but I would say just rock and roll, just at the purest form.
Yeah.
It's all rock and roll.
Right.
Even you got soft rock, you got classic rock, you got hard rock, you got all these different subgenres of rock. But I mean, we're just rock. If we're rock at the bass line,
Yeah.
and then we
Yeah.
expand
Yeah.
upon rock as we write music and play together. So I think
Yeah.
that's
I even heard in your vocals there. I even heard some a little bit of a deep growl looking feel,
yeah,
because you mentioned doing vocal lessons, and yeah, you probably need to do that so you don't hurt
yeah,
yourself
exactly,
because
man.
there's a lot of guys out there uh, from a lot of bands that will tell you, you gotta take care of that
Yeah,
voice.
man.
It's
That's what Brent
it's
Smith of Shinedown
gonna
told
take
me when
a
I was
ways.
backstage. I was like, "Dude, what's your advice for as a lead vocalist and songwriter for the band?" He was like, "Write music, never stop writing music, and take care of your voice." He was like, "That's it. That's the key."
Yep,
And I was like,
yep,
"All right,"
absolutely.
and I started doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize the strain, that you put on your voice, and it's your vocal cords are basically your musical instrument.
Yeah.
So
It's a little bit weird,
you
It's
definitely got
it's
to take
weird
care
to
of
be
that.
able to pick up a guitar and just play, whatever it is that we have to play. And then with my vocals, it's almost like it's like a guitar with strings that are rusty a little bit, and then you have to like change the strings and keep taking care of it. It's a weird process, but I'm slowly but surely figuring it out so that in the future I don't have so much vocal issue. Because I remember, do you remember on our tour how much I was vocal resting on the road? Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd be on the road, and I would either be sleeping in the back of the van, vocal resting, and just kind of saying nothing to everybody, or I would be having an anxiety attack before the show, saying, "I don't think I can sing tonight. I don't know what's going on." So yeah, it was definitely a wake up call for me after that tour. I was like, I got to really hone in on my voice and make sure that I could keep going because hopefully in the future we're able to do more than a 2 week tour and we're able to go on the road for months with bigger bands and get to play with everybody, play different venues, and go to different places and stuff. And if we're
Not have
doing
to
that,
worry about it.
exactly. If we're doing that, it's like I have to be able to be proficient with my vocals. So because that's guitar, it's easy to replace. It's a materialistic item, but your voice, your vocal cords, that's something you're given at birth, and you can't really mess with that.
Exactly,
Spooky.
exactly. Now I saw that you did some stuff with Danny Wimmer,
We did.
and of course DWP owns pretty much all the festival land festivals in the U.S.
Waiting for air.
So has there been any talk of you guys getting on the road in one of the festivals?
I mean, that's the hope. We really want to. I mean, we've been wanting. Aftershock is basically in our backyard. I mean, it's only like 2 hours away. We're not that far from Sacramento. So, and we went last year. When we did this contest, we had no idea we would get as far as we did. I mean, we did. They put on contests for a majority of the festivals up here, like Louder Than Life, Welcome to Rockville. All these different ones. And when they did the Aftershock one, I kind of saw it coming. At the beginning of the year when we started doing the Louder Than Life festival festival and whatever. And I was like, I think they're gonna do an Aftershock one. And I remember you told me, you were like, dude, if they do that, we have to do it. Like we have to go all the way with that
Absolutely.
contest and try to win. And we did. You know, when they announced that they were doing an Aftershock one, I kind of lost it a little bit. I was like, we got to get on there. And we used our demos to get as far as we did. You know, we the way it worked is they would play our song like maybe a minute to 30 seconds of the
I
song.
think it was like a minute or like a minute and a half of each song.
Yeah, yeah. So it was longer than that. Yeah, they would play a minute and a minute and a half of the song, and then they'd have whatever Twitch audience they had at the time, which was up to 10,000 people that were watching on this thing, review it and vote on it and vote versus another band. And we just kept getting more and more shocked. Like we just kept going up the bracket, and we were like, how are we doing this? Like it just didn't make any sense
I
to
still
us.
don't understand how those demos got us that far.
I mean, those yeah, they were mixed at my house, like they just didn't sound at all like, professional really. Like it's compared to other bands that were in there that were putting out music that sounded
Right.
legendary, like they've spent thousands and thousands of dollars to get it made or put all the
Yeah.
effort in.
And that's a good. I mean, that's a good point that I think that you just made right there. Is there's a difference? I think. How am I going to put this? So I'll use an example. I went to a festival and Seether was playing.
Oh, love
I
those
don't know if you've
guys.
seen Seether live,
Yeah.
um, but Seether, I don't. I got the idea. I got the feeling that they were very, very specific about how their music was going to sound. So they do a lot of guitar changes, and you guys understand that. Different guitars make different sounds, and they're tuned different ways, and so they do a lot of swapping out. Um, and I could tell that there was a problem. Like you could tell on stage that something was wrong. Like they didn't have the right guitar,
Yeah.
and it was a little bit of confusion. And then they started playing, and nobody gave a shit. I mean, they sounded phenomenal. Wrong guitar, who
It's
cares?
either.
So I mean, you just made my point.
Yeah.
Really, is that it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, people can tell the passion behind it. Um, it doesn't have to be, that $1 billion, recorded
Right.
type stuff. And you guys kind of proved that because I think you made it all the way to number three
Yeah.
on that
Out of
contest.
Yep.
64 people, yeah, out of 64 bands. And I think, yeah, I've always kind of thought that. And over time I'm like, it's never in the marketing, it's never in the recording, it's always in the music. Whatever the music is, that's what people are going to fall in love with, and that's the baseline of what people are going to relate to and have the emotional connection with. It's not the, oh my gosh, this sounds like it was made at East West Studios in LA, or this sounds like it was recorded on a Walmart laptop. It's like it doesn't matter. It's what people connect
Right, right,
with, and I think that's what our forte
right.
is just connection and relation in our music. And I think that's why, as a songwriter, I'd never really stick to a certain genre. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling very country today. I'm gonna write some, Nashville style country stuff, or I'm feeling very Slayer metal today. I'm gonna write some really heavy stuff. It's really whatever's moving around in my head. I just kind of put into music and put it with that emotional relation aspect to it, and that's what really brings it home for me. Because it could be the softest song in the world and mean the complete opposite of what you think it means, and it could be the heaviest song in the world and mean exactly what you think it means. It's really subjective.
Yeah, that's actually a good kind of a question and a segue
Yeah.
there. Um, yeah, so do you tell people what the song means that you write? Or do you want people to know that? Like, do you get asked that? Because I find a lot of artists are like, I really don't want to tell you what I was thinking when I wrote that song because I want you, the audience, to interpret it the way you want to interpret it? How do you feel
That's
about
a
that?
great question. That's a really great question. So I get asked a lot in interviews, especially. What does this song mean? What's this song about? Even after our shows, sometimes I'll have fans come up to us and be like, what's that song about? Or what are the lyrics about? And sometimes I'm feeling like I'm very humble about this project. I just like writing music. I don't see myself as anything special other than writing music and having fun on stage and putting on a show for everybody. So when people come up to me and ask me that, I'm just like, sometimes I'll be like, yeah, this is exactly what it's about. Like for a song like Strawberries, for example, everybody pretty much knows what that song's about. It's about my 16-year-old experience with my one and only experience with acid. I wrote that song the next day after tripping on acid, and I thought, no, I'll never do that again. But wow, I got a really good song out of it. I got a really good song idea out of it, and I got some really good lyrics out of it. So when people ask me about a song like Strawberries, I'm like, yeah, it's about an acid trip. When you listen to the lyrics, that's what it's talking about. It's pretty obvious. And that's I feel like sometimes it's on purpose. And especially with one of our new singles, Do It Again, that one's pretty obvious too. Love story about a couple people meeting at a concert, falling in love, and then never really seeing each other again. And I think it's funny because someone asked me on a podcast about a month and a half ago. They were like, "What's Do It Again's first line about? Who's the girl in Bakersfield?" And I was like, that's a good question because I've never talked about it. No one's ever asked me specific lines. Usually it's like, what's the whole idea about? So the girl in Bakersfield is not a girl. It's an allude to our van that we got crashed back in August. So when the van got crashed, we could only afford to get it towed to Bakersfield. And when it got towed to Bakersfield, that's where it stayed. So that is the girl out in Bakersfield. I alluded to that in the song. And then the rest of the song is like a romantic love story. No one would even guess. But I think when I was writing the song, it was more so of like small towns, small music scenes like Reno, like it's those are the where the love, missed connections happen. But when people ask me about songs, and what they're about, it really depends on which one because there's certain ones that I'll be like, you tell me what it's about. If you find your own meaning with it. But some of them are just, I just write them so obvious that it's like, I can't really get around that answer. I have to just be like, yeah, it's you're right. It's about this. But most of the time, I like it kind of being a little bit of a mystery. I like people having to guess and find that anticipation of
Finding
like,
a way where it can kind of intertwine with their life, how they could relate to
right.
it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that
Right.
came up
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
There was a
Exactly.
person that hit us up on Instagram and they were like, "Hey, these songs kind of stood out to me and got me through a really hard time in my life." And I was like, wow, I was in awe. I was, this is because
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
the goal
Yeah.
with it. The goal with music for us and for me
Yeah.
especially is bringing people together, making people have fun, and putting music out that everybody can
Yeah.
enjoy and relate to. And find with our
Yeah.
generation of people, even with older or younger generations, just everybody, because everybody has bad days, everybody has good
Right. Right.
days, and I think that our songs kind of reflect that. But yeah, it's sometimes subjective, but sometimes it's too obvious to get around.
Yeah. I'll tell you, as someone that's been around the music scene quite a bit and been involved in as a consumer, more or less. I mean, you hit that right on the head. I think that your music is more than what you think it is. I think your music is going to touch lives in ways that you'd never imagine. And I think that'll happen as you progress. I like the fact that you use the word, a journey, because, you guys are young, you're in the beginning of your journey, and, hopefully I get to enjoy you for many, many years as you kind of progress through that, and you get to look back at this time early. But while you're talking and telling some of your stories, you're reminding me of somebody that I follow that I really enjoy listening to, and it's Justin Furstenfeld. I don't know if you've ever heard of him before.
I've actually met
Yeah,
him.
he went sober. Okay, all
That's a
right.
good story.
Yeah, yeah, he's got, I mean, you kind of remind me of him, or at least the version of him that I hear him talk about as a young guy. So hopefully you have that kind of success, as you guys move forward.
I mean, I hope so. I mean, it's
Um,
really about making this a full-time career for us and being able to not work a day job, and work a retail, just being
Oh
able to,
yeah, yeah,
create music and, be able to, because I mean, our goal is
right,
to live in
right.
a house together, hang out, it's a real brotherhood type of thing. Because, I didn't grow up with any siblings,
Yeah,
but, these are the closest things to siblings I've ever had. And I think as we continue to grow and thrive, I think the goal is obviously to continue to do this for the rest of our lives until I keep telling everybody I'm going to do this until I can't do it. I'm going to do this until I need a even if I need a walker to get on stage, I'm still going to be on there. I'm still going to be doing it. So I appreciate that though. I'm very
yeah.
very touched that you would compare me to Justin Firstfield, especially because he was a huge inspiration for me in the beginning. He was one of the first bigger musicians that I've ever had the pleasure to meet, and he was an incredibly sweet person, and I would hope to meet him again. And I mean, I think now would be a good time as any to say that we're actually working with Blue October's bass player Matt Novinsky in May to record some songs with him and out in
Awesome.
Austin, Texas. And I think it's crazy because this is the second full circle thing that's happened with this band. I met Justin back in 2018 when I was just about to move up to Reno, just about to start this and, be able to, play with these dudes. And I had just started writing music, and he was another person that told me, never stop writing, continue to write music, and write music you care about, is actually what he said. And that touched me more
Yeah,
than
yeah,
anyone really did back then. And that's crazy. Thank you so much.
that's for sure. Yeah, every time I've met him, he's impressed by my beard.
Yeah, that's what's
Awesome.
up.
He likes
Beard man.
to. Yeah. Hey, so one thing I was reading about, I kind of want to ask about is it sounds like you guys, well, you won the Battle of the Bands in high
Yeah.
school, and that's always a good story. I mean, you could probably like make a mini series or a made for cable movie or something,
Maybe.
about that.
Maybe.
Maybe
Hoping
Netflix,
so. That would be
maybe
great.
Netflix
I might
needs
get
to
my foot in the
get
door
to it.
directing one day.
So yeah, tell me, just kind of walk me through that, and tell me kind of how that went.
Well, it was, right when Split Persona was just starting, and I was looking for people to start this project. It was right after Sell the Sun and ended, and I'd picked up the drummer Connor and another bass player at the time, and Brogan, who I met through a couple of the other connections through you too. So when I met Brogan and we started playing together, I knew there was already like a chemistry there, and having the band together, I was like. Brogan actually asked. He was like, "Do you guys want to do Battle of the Bands?" And it was the bass player going to the school at the time as well. His name was Darren. He said, "Do you guys want to do the Battle of the Bands here?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's make it our first show. It'll be the first show we've ever played. We rehearsed probably a week before that show. We did just a week of rehearsal, just jamming on some of the first EP stuff. Some new stuff that hadn't come out yet, and when we did Battle of the Bands, we actually did Sell the Sun as well. So Mike was on stage playing drums for Sell the Sun, and I was doing the vocals because the singer wasn't there at the time. He was pursuing other stuff. I think was he in Spain?
No, no,
Oh,
he had actually quit like a month before.
oh, did he really? Oh,
Yeah,
I thought he went to pursue school in Spain. Never mind.
I think that was like other time.
Shout out to now comedian Matt Owens.
Matt
Such
Owens.
a cool dude.
I miss that dude.
Yeah, I do too. So we did Sell the Sun, and I sang and did guitar for them, and then right after that was Split Persona, and we get on stage, and well, it was Subliminal at the time, but we get on stage and we start playing these songs, and I just start doing what my idols kind of taught me to do, which was mainly Dave Grohl at the time, which was don't get people to stand still, get people to continue to move and have a good time, keep the crowd involved. And there were other people. Luke Spiller from the Struts is another dude. He was a opener for Foo Fighters that I saw, and he came out and he made that stage his. And I was like, I didn't think an opener could do that. I didn't think an opener could come out and sweep the headliner. So that's kind of every time we get on stage, that's a goal for me, and to continue to keep everybody engaged and involved. So I just did that. I was getting people to get down and get up and clap and move around, and then they were like, "You guys put on such a good show." And right after that they announced that we won, and I was like, I was
It's the
shocked.
trophy.
Yeah, the trophy they gave us was a skull, and we still have it in our
Nice.
studio.
I
Fall
like it. I
2019
like it.
Subliminal. We keep it in here as like an inspiration piece while we keep writing music and staying together. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I watched Blue October beat down a headliner once.
wow.
I even forget who the headliner was. I think I left.
I mean, that's
Blue October played, and then the headliner came on, and about three songs in, I left. can't even remember who it was.
Wow.
So that's how much they killed that show. But of course, I went purposely to see the
Yeah.
Killers. So I, I see them any chance I get. I mean, whether if they're anywhere close by, I'm going to see them. So saying that, I do actually travel a lot to see bands. I've been out to Aftershock. You know, I've hit all the festival scene. I go down to Nashville, yeah, if somebody comes down there. But one of the things that I've done quite often is go on a cruise called Shiprock.
Oh,
You guys ever heard of that?
that's a dream.
Okay.
Love to even just attend.
Yeah. So I think I got four times on. And that's rookie status. I got friends that have been on 10, 11 times.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, I could see you guys playing that. I could see you guys on Shiprock after listening to your
That'd be
stuff.
so
I
tight.
mean,
Yeah, that'd be so fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the guy who runs it um, is a Facebook friend of mine. So after I post this and I say, hey, here's a new band for you to check out, maybe he'll actually check it
That'd be
out.
sweet. I mean, I've
So
never
we'll see.
never been on a
We'll
cruise,
see.
let alone a cruise where you get to play
Right.
music for people. That's so cool.
Double whammy.
I've been wanting to go on it for
Yeah,
so long. I
yeah.
remember when I first discovered the band Nothing More. One of the first videos I saw was them playing at Shiprock, and they were just ripping the stage open, and I was just like, they're doing this on a cruise ship. Like that's so cool.
Yeah, this last year the headliner was Parkway
Oh
Drive,
wow,
so
yeah, they're a good
that
dude.
was
They're
that
a
was
good group
pretty
of
damn
dudes.
good. Yeah, yeah. But I think let's see who killed it. Besides Park, yeah, they killed it. It was the theater show. It's just unbelievable, unbelievable.
Jealous, so
Yeah, so
jealous.
you're on a cruise ship in a one of those small. Well, you guys never been on a cruise, but in the little mini theaters there. Um, yeah, yeah, pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Um, all right, so what do you guys got kind of coming up in the near future where folks can check you out?
Well, we got a couple Reno shows coming up in the next month. We have one that we've never been to this city in Nevada called Fallon, so we're venturing out to Fallon to do a show, which is with one of our friends, Will Schamberger. He has a really cool band. You need to check him out too. He's awesome. But we're going out there and we're going to be able to do a show, and then in May we're going out to Austin to record with Matt Novinsky at Orb Studios, which is going to be such an adventure for us. We're going to record some stuff with him, that we've been wanting to make for over 3 years now. Music that's been written since the pandemic that we're finally going to be able to put into, some good production, some. And Mike's going to get to play in the big room. He's
Yes.
excited, So, but as of right now, in April, we're actually putting out. So we have two demos that we released in 2021. No, You Won't, On Your Own. Those are two songs that are really, really fun. We love playing those songs live, but we don't want our fans to have to listen to the demos. So while we were in the studio after this last session that we recorded Do It Again and Let It Go during, we got No You Won't and On Your Own mixed and remastered pretty much. So we completely re-recorded it. So we have a similar sound of what we've been putting out for our fans to enjoy. So we're basically going to put out the Do It Again EP, which is going to be Do It Again, collection of the singles we've been putting out, so Do It Again, Let It Go, and then the re-recorded versions of On Your Own and No You Won't, and just another version of I Need More that people can listen to, like a different mixed version. It's a little bit different than the one we put out, but it's only for like the real split persona nerds out there that like the music. It's like a rough mix instead of a full mix, so it's got a little bit of a different vibe to it. I just, for some reason, I was very attached to when they sent us the board mix, which was completely analog, before any virtual processing or virtual just any mastering or anything fancy. I was very in love with the raw sound that it had, so we're just gonna throw that on there for our fans to enjoy, just a different version of that song. And then I don't know when we're gonna release the new songs that we're going out in Austin to do, but I'm sure it'll be before the summer, so I'm thinking around June, July-ish. That's what I'm thinking,
That's
but I don't
awesome.
know yet. I just know that we have our flights booked and we're going. So I know that for a fact.
Yeah, good, good, awesome. Um, All right, so I always ask my guests one special question, and just kind of give you the kind of preface of it. There's kind of a reason behind it. I'm kind of a genealogy nerd. Okay, so I've been doing the ancestry stuff
Oh
for
yeah.
20 years now.
Wow.
So when I was a young guy, around your guys' age, I wasn't quite as interested in my family history. Um, I was just doing my own thing, trying to earn a living, things like that, and I didn't really put a lot of thought into it until I'm getting a little older, and now guess what? I'm the old guy in the family. My dad's gone. My grandparents are gone, so I can't go back and ask questions. Sometimes I talk to my older cousin. He's really the old one. He's older, the oldest one of the cousins. Uh, and he asked me questions like we'll compare photos and say who are these people in these photos, and I just think that I think back and it's like I would give anything to spend 2 weeks with my great grandfather.
Yeah.
So my great grandfather came over from Ireland. So he's first generation. Well, he wasn't even first generation American. He was the American immigrant, Irish immigrant. He worked in the Chicago stockyards. Eventually, and he came over. I think when they first came over, his father. So my great great grandfather was a coal miner,
Oh
and they
wow.
came over from Ireland and settled in Pennsylvania, and he was working. They were working in the coal mines, and then by way of I think Southern Illinois, my great grandfather eventually made it to Chicago and worked in the stockyards. So I was born in Chicago. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, um, and then left for the military when I was a young man.
Wow.
Uh, but like I said, I'd give anything to go back and ask questions. We go back into the genealogy side, and we get into Ireland, and I get as far as my great great grandfather, and then the name is lost. It's like I
Wow.
don't even know if my last name is the last name that existed back then. If
Dang.
it changed coming into America or what have you, as a lot of immigrants, had their names changed because they just couldn't pronounce them right and things like that. So I'm kind of interested in that kind of stuff. One of the things that's interesting that I found out eventually, and it took many many years of genealogy and going back, I finally made my way back to an earl in Ireland. His name was
Ooh.
James Butler. He's the White Earl. He was called the White Earl. He was the Lord Deputy of Ireland. He's a big guy. He's a big deal, right? So
Cool.
once you're a big deal, they don't just get those jobs. It's they're all related, right? I mean, you're
Right.
kind of born into it. So I was able to kind of trace back through that fairly easily with historical data that's existing, and I could trace all the way back through William the Conqueror, who was the first Norman king of England, who happened to be the great grandson of Rollo. I don't know if you've heard of him before. He
Yeah.
was a Viking chieftain that used to burn Paris down until King Charles there said, "Hey, I'll give you this land on the northern coast of France, so you can quit burning our city down." And he became the first Duke of Normandy. So yeah, I could go all the way back to him. So that's kind of how I got my name Ragnar a little bit.
It's so cool.
Based on some Viking heritage. And what's funny is when we started doing the genealogy, my cousin was into it probably 20 years before I was. So you're talking many many years, decades of work. He did the hard work. He did it before the internet did it for you.
Oh
Oh,
He would
wow.
wow.
he would go to get church records and things like that. Pen and paper, really. Matter of fact, I was asking him the other day about a photo or a certain person, and he had their obituary and a photo, and he's actually mailing it to me like snail mail, like putting a stamp on it, kind of thing.
Wow,
So I'm expecting that to show up any day.
that is cool.
But saying that, he had when the ancestry DNA stuff first came out, he had us do our DNA, and obviously we all knew we had Irish, obviously.
Yeah.
My great grandmother immigrated from Scotland. We knew she was born in Scotland. So we knew we had Scottish and Irish, but all of a sudden I had a bunch of Swedish, Sweden and Denmark, Norway, and things like that. And my DNA came back, and we were like, "Where's that come from?" And so probably a good 5 or 6 years later, we finally found a connection as we went back. So I started thinking, what do I want? What do I want my great grandchildren to know about me? Um, I served in the military for 25 years, been all over the
Thanks for your
world,
service.
Thank you.
done a lot of crazy stuff, and um, I want them to know about it. So that's actually one of the reasons I really started the podcast, was so that I could do things not just that interest me and that can inform people out there, but also talk about the things that I've done. So hopefully this digital archive that we're making here survives the next, I don't know how many years to your great grandchildren are born. No, was it probably what, 100 years maybe? Could
Maybe.
be, maybe,
Don't even know.
maybe close. Um, yeah, hopefully, this doesn't go the way of like the cassette tape or the
Yeah. Hopefully
the
not.
vinyl LP.
I still
But if
use
Me
this,
too.
I was about to say, I still use them. They're
well,
not dead to
me
me.
too, me too. I love them. I love them.
Yeah.
But
Cool
anyway, yeah.
man.
So what do you want? What do you want your great grandchildren to know about
For me personally, to start off, I'd like my great grandchildren to know that I made the best of every moment I was alive. And that's what life's about, is making the best of every moment and living in the present and not looking so far ahead in your future, just living and doing whatever feels right. And if that means sitting at home one day and chilling out and not overworking yourself, then do that. And if it means, man, I got to put the pedal to the metal and get some stuff done, do it. If it makes you feel good about it, do it. But it's always about passion. Your life is about passion and living in the moment. So I just want my great grandchildren to know that life is about having fun and making the best of every moment you're there.
I mean, you stole most of the words out of my mouth.
I knew it.
Yeah, just live in the moment. Keep the drive going to achieve the
Yes.
dreams, and be kind, really,
Yeah,
because there's a lot of negativity in this world. What has always helped me stay away from conflict, always, is killing everything with kindness.
exactly. I mean, that's something I do
you?
as well. Every person that's come up to us and talked to us after a show, even before a show, every engineer, every security guard, every bartender, I always make a point to meet them and shake their hand and just say, hey, thank you so much for doing what you did tonight. And I'm nice. I try to be nice to everybody, because that's the only way this world's going to be kind, is if you're nice to everybody and you don't give them a chance to even see anything else other than kindness. So, be kind.
There you
Like you
go.
took
There you
that
go.
kind of from me as well. Is be kind, live in the moment, and have fun. And I think I guess the end note for me on that one would be nothing's impossible. Like I was told my entire life, at least when I started music, and I was telling people, I'm gonna move to LA and I'm gonna pursue music, or I'm gonna be in a rock band one day. Everybody like I've had teachers laugh in my face. I don't know if I ever told you that. I had a teacher laugh in my face one time. She was like, "You're never gonna be able to do that. You might as well go to college and." get a music degree. Maybe you'll do that or find, whatever. Like every teacher I had in high school, basically, besides innovations, of course, because they supported my talent. But every teacher I had in high school basically told me that if you're not going to college, you're not going to have a life. You're not going to be able to live and make a living anywhere else. You're going to be a bum basically. And I don't believe that at all. I don't believe anybody needs to go to college. I feel like if you can make a career out of anything nowadays. There's people blowing up on TikTok for dancing, and they're getting $10,000 checks a month. Just being able to do that, and they're very happy to do that. And I think it's just whatever you find passion in, don't let it stop you. Don't let reality stop you from getting there. Just go and
There you
do it,
go.
and
Yeah,
always
yeah,
have fun
yeah.
on the way.
You're exactly right. Yeah, Pat. If you're passionate about it and you go do it, it'll be it'll work. It'll work for you. Yeah.
Always.
And you guys got a great attitude. That's one of the things I'm always preaching positivity. I try to
Yes.
rid myself of negativity and also kind of repel negativity. And I even wear the black obsidian crystal, which
Obsidian
signifies
ring.
nothing but positivity, and just kind of reminds you to always be positive, find the positive aspects of things. So, hey, well, I really enjoyed talking to you guys. I know you got music to make and get out there and do great things. So, hopefully, we could do this again.
Oh, absolutely,
Absolutely.
100%.
Maybe after you guys, get that record deal and start to be
Oh,
famous, you can get back with me and we'll do another show, or maybe I can come see you at a show. Hopefully someday.
that'd be great, man.
Awesome.
That would be insane.
It'd be
I mean,
great to
thank you
see you.
so much for having
Thank
us. This is
you.
one of the best interviews we've ever done. So thank you so much.
Oh yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right, we'll see you. All right, I'm out.
Bye, everybody.